The being can't survive as long as it's being fed past and future most of its time. Past and future is called being asleep because the past is gone and the future is fantasy. The essential self is very, very primitive, has very few wants, very few needs, and it only understands what is happening now. I know that so many people are involved and spend most of their time in future. When this happens, when that happens, when this bond matures and when that goes on, then I'll do this, I'll do that. All fantasy. Very, very nice. Fantasy. Being doesn't live on that. Being lives on what is happening this instant to this unit. It feels emotions, it feels hunger, it feels hot and cold, and it has one desire that overrides all others: to survive. I believe it's impossible to think faster than life. Yet so much of man's efforts are placed upon his idea of figuring out life. His own life, the life of others, what's going to happen. And when we figure out what's going to happen, we have before us a list of possible fantasies, one of which has a small chance of happening, or a bigger chance, one of several. The capacity to look at an instant and react to that instant has all but disappeared in contemporary people. What's going to happen to anyone tomorrow? I don't know. But I assure that they don't know either. Small things, well, I'll climb a tree and get something to eat, sure. I'll go to work, sure. Cross the street, shave, put on a shirt. It doesn't go past that. And the mind stays locked into, can I figure out what's going to happen before it happens and get the jump on it, be prepared, and be in control. Fantasy. Is there anyone free enough to say, I don't know what's coming tomorrow? In reality, I know I'll probably wake up maybe. I don't know what's going to happen a year from now, 6 months from now, and frankly, Sarah, I don't give a damn. Whatever happens, I'll do the best I can, and if I'm not that good, I guess I'll perish. What'll I do when I see a lion? I don't know. Where's the lion coming from? From there, from there, from there, from a tree? Going to try to figure it out? Can we get to live instantly? What'll I do when I see a lion? I don't know. I'll fight for my life. But everybody's got plans, 10-year plans, 20-year plans, 30-year plan to pay off a cave. And that becomes exceedingly important. It isn't a matter of, well, I'll throw some money at it. If it goes away, it goes away. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So basically, who cares? No, this is the plan. And we'll talk a government into it. We'll talk family into it. We'll talk the community into it. And every aspect of society has a plan. I don't know if, as a society, people are afraid not to have a plan. But I confess I can't imagine January. It would be January 10, 2010. I can't imagine it. I guess it would be cold. The building burns down, we won't be meeting here anymore. If you die, we'll think of you, but you won't be here. I don't know if I'll be here. A huge I don't know. Can you people live in a world of I don't know without being all upset? I believe it's a fantasy and total slumber to be thinking of the futures, to be thinking about it. Means whatever happens, are you prepared to deal with it? If you deal with it and conquer it somehow, I guess you will live on. If you don't, I guess you'll starve, or you'll die, or you'll run, or you'll kill yourself. I don't know what. Steps that people make into the future, years ahead. Well, Martha, when Rover graduates, then we'll send Mom down to Florida and we'll get an RVR with little caps and we'll drive around and see our friends and see what the kids are doing. Come on. I don't know what the population of this nation is at this point. And I'm not sure the numbers, but I know they're into the millions. I don't know what percentage that is, but there's millions of Americans in jail. Millions of them. It's amazing. I don't know what the percentage is. I wish look on the internet. But there's an amazing percentage of people in jail. Entre nous, all those were somebody's little darlings. Oh, you're going to be a dentist? No, you look like a doctor to me. Guy's doing 15 to 20 in San Quentin. Fantasy, not exactly. My dear best friend then, Milty, he had 2 kids. I saw these kids grow up day by day. And Jeffrey and Paulie were sweet kids, this and that. I forget which one of them has been in jail, like, on his, I think this is his 11th prison term or something. And the other one didn't talk to Milty for the last few years until Milty died. Who could have told Milty, this guy's a jailbird that you're talking to. He's going to be in jail forever and ever. He comes out, spends 3 weeks on the street, and steals another car. Not my Jeffrey. Or was it Paul? I know, everybody in my era, their parents wanted them to be dentists, doctors, whatever. Big plans. Buy this, buy that. Wow. Doesn't anybody say, I don't have the vaguest idea of what's coming up tomorrow, but believe me, I'm going to go right ahead with it and do the best I can. If it flattens me, it flattens me. But you plan, no plan. Survive. Yeah. And that's almost like, for me, a happy thought. Yeah. I feel dismal if I try to figure out, well, when this happens, that happens, then I'll move from here, but I'll move from here. Oh. I'll survive. And if I don't survive, man is a predator, and all the other creatures on Earth are predators. That means that a lot of people don't survive. A lot of animals don't survive. Somebody has to be somebody's dinner. Is that okay? Yeah, I'm going to be somebody's dinner. Now, if I could figure out, why do people want this assurance of the future? You can't eat for the future, that's out. You can't sleep for the future. You can't drink water for the future. So it's got to be something else that's about this future that's very attractive. Could it be that somewhere there's a mechanism that says, then I'll feel happy, then I'll feel satisfied, then I'll feel okay about myself. Yeah. I'll feel satisfied. Could I wait 20 years to feel satisfied? What about feeling satisfied tomorrow? What about feeling satisfied now? My heart's beating, I'm talking, I'm alive. That's close enough for jazz, that's good enough. Good enough for me. Is there something in the future that could happen to make me feel better? I really doubt it. I really, really doubt it. Because it hasn't happened yet. What's going to make me feel better? I don't know. I don't think I can feel better. This is it. I'm alive. I'm breathing. I'm walking around. This is as good as it gets. Ooh. How exciting. Am I talking about the end of desire? That's supposed to be pretty hot stuff. The end of desire. Wow. A little picture from the Bronx. I reached the end of desire. Wow. Hey, how did I do that? Too many of my desires came true. I thought, I don't want any more desires. Holy smoke. Like when somebody says, my plan is, you can tell them, from knowing you and seeing what happens in your plans, I hope this one doesn't happen to you. What happened to just being a hairy guy carrying a banana in one hand and a stick in the other and walking down the woods with no plans? Lions live like that. Somebody could, I really asked for help, somebody could know what is there behind this idea that something is going to happen in the future. What's it going to do for you? I can't imagine. I can't imagine something happening in the future and my dream comes true, and then I guess I'll feel better or good or something. Do you have any idea, Derek, what people are hoping for in the future? What part does this appeal to?
I was just thinking of a previous meeting where you, Chair had presented, speaking about the word should. And I believe, this is a couple years ago, but presented the idea that should be or could be erased from our vocabulary.
It should be.
So I guess with respect to tonight's topic so far, I was thinking back on my own life, I believe somewhere I was told or taught to believe that I should do these things. So I should study to get an A so I can get into some school, so I can get some job, so I can buy some house, so some woman will like me, so I will have a family, procreate, and I don't know if there was happiness or something tied to that. I think it was just ingrained that this is what one should do. So I think it's, to me it just seems that a lot of people are just brainwashed. So it's a plan is instilled upon us, and perhaps something like happiness or satisfaction is sort of laid out with that. But it seems to me that people have plans because they're told they should.
Do you think these plans are supposed to make you, forbid the word, happy?
I think perhaps happy is one. There could be, quote, respectable person, to gain respect of your fellow society members, whatever that means. So yeah, I think happiness, respect. Those two words come to mind. It seem like those things that are instilled like you should, as if respect and happiness are things that you should work towards, or they should be your goal. There seems very little room to question that. If I were to ask mother and father, why should I have respect of the neighbors on the street? Or why should I be happy? I don't think that's a question that would be responded to.
It's a very good question. How about the question, should you be happy now, as happy as you're going to be, this is it? Or do you have to wait until the whole scenario that laid out comes through, then you'll be happy?
I mean, personally, I've always been a little confused by what happiness means, but I think now, I think it's be happy or satisfied or content, whatever word works for you. I think now that I think it's I agree with what's been said. It seems foolish.
Well, if I'm breathing now, to stand to reason that if I get onto that track, I'm going to breathe better in 30 or 40 years? Or is this about as good as I'm going to breathe? What's going to get better in 20 years? Isn't there some place you can go to learn how to be in good shape mentally and physically and emotionally now, today? Because if we don't figure that this is good enough, how can we be grateful? Does that mean that I'll be grateful 20 years from now if things work out good? Someday I'll have satisfaction. Someday I'll be grateful. Someday I'll feel that I'm okay, that I've sort of done the right thing. Someday, you walk across the street and you get hit by a cab. It never happens. Wow, what a drag. I want it to happen now, tomorrow. I want to sit here and be as happy as I'm going to be, which I think is so. I don't think I'm going to get happier than this. I don't think I know how to be happier than this. This is it. As they say, good enough for jazz, right? Close enough for jazz. This is happy enough. What do you want out of life? Out of life? Out of life. That's the weirdest statement I've ever heard. What do you want out of life? First, there has to be something that you can address. Hey, life, I want this. And life says, oh, you could have that, maybe you can't. What do you want that you don't have now or can't have this very instant? What's there to want? More food? Can't eat more food. I'm stuffed now. We just had something in the car. That's enough to tide me a day or two or possibly three. If your health is right, that's enough. What's there to want? What's there to want? Can you think of something that you could have that will make you happier than you know how to be? What?
Acceptance of what is.
Yeah. Are you satisfied with what is now?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Then all you have to do is keep doing this and you'll be a satisfied man. Do you know how to do this?
Right.
Then that's all you need. Are you looking forward to anything happening in your life that's you feel should happen for you?
I often fall into that trap.
What do you feel is when you're trapped? What's your fantasy there?
That's my fantasy when I'm trapped.
Yeah.
Just a couple things could change. I guess for me, I look to the completion of things, which is a lie. If their completion of things would ever make me happy. Like, I'm working on my yard right now. My yard is a mess.
Mm-hmm.
And I think of the dream of what it will be. But if I can't work on it and enjoy the working, it may never be.
I suppose you close your eyes, your yard is finished. Trees are, birds are chirping, it's beautiful. Is that going to make you happier than you are now? The concept, it will make you happy. How can a great looking yard make you happy? No. She will make me happy. He will make me happy. A certain job will make me happy. We're all going towards this thing that something we can do will bring happiness. But on the flip side, it says, hey, happiness doesn't come in. It gets manufactured in here by you. What do you think? Your yard is going to be faithful to you? Your yard is the yard of your dreams? Your yard will never lie to you, never betray you? You're going to get buried with your yard? Your yard will see you there and say, I can't live without it, and jump into the hole with you. Oh, God, your yard.
There's something in pride there, too. That my fantasy is based on pride. The happiness that I see is based on pride. That I'll be proud of what I did, and that is why I will feel happy.
Aren't you proud enough right now?
I should be.
I don't know, you should be. That he says that word doesn't exist. Don't use the word should around here. It's a dirty word. Suppose you learned how to feel satisfied enough right now. Then you won't need a yard. It's nice, a yard is nice. You don't have one, you don't have one. Does everybody have a little something somewhere on the east side of Eden that'll make one? What would you use? Satisfied?
Say again.
Did you use the word satisfied as opposed to happy?
I don't remember, but maybe.
It was just a few seconds ago.
I know.
Wish for a better memory. Yeah. Does everyone have some sort of little thing in their little house with a picket fence, a little bosomy gal standing outside shucking corn or something and make you happy? I don't have enough faith to think that a yard is going to make me happy. Or a house, or a stream, or a diploma. If Donald Trump said, Gil, I've got a lifetime job for you, I want you to come in and be my partner, I'd say, man, truthfully, Donald, I can't handle that. If I have to get up in the morning to go do this, got me out. I ain't doing that. I gotta slip down to your office and hear you all day. No. Cancel it. I'll stay poor. The kids, they'll make us happy. Ronald, number 86972. Yeah, I got 2 kids. Girl's a hooker. She's in Ellis Island. The other guy turned out he was going to be an engineer, but he decided to start selling dope instead. They gave him, 15 to 20 at Alcatraz or something. I sent him a file. So that's future pacing. Sort of insanity in the future. Ah, the good old days. Things aren't what they used to be. There were great times, great music, great gals, great guys, great apartments. I didn't think they were great at the time. I thought they were horrid at the time. But now that I think of it over, it's great. Remember my friend Gordy? We were sitting around the bar at the band thing, and everybody is bitching about the piano's out of tune, this is wrong, the salary is no good, the owner's no good, the bartender's the people. Wow. And Gordy said, one day we'll look back and say, these were the good old days. And I think of it, wow, Marty was great, and Gordy was great. Wow, those were the good old days. But I hated the good old days. Is there anything that we can do not to hate the present, which will one day be the good old days? What do you think, Pamela? You usually know your way around past and present and future. Is there anything that's going to come along and make your life worth living? That's a good way of putting it. Life worth living.
Probably not.
Probably. Honestly, is your life worth living now? Okay. We're going back. Was your life ever worth living?
No, but what you were saying about in the present, I mean, even though it's not easy to do all the time, that position always seems like, with the willing work that we learned here, that takes you automatically into the present when you do it. And I find it's important to not think certain thoughts, that automatically, if you think a certain thought, like with the house and my family, to just take it into the present, to keep staying with sensibility. I've been doing that now that everything is out of the house. It's just going back and sort of just sensing the air, the birds chirping, and just whatever is occurring, and not thinking thoughts that wouldn't be positive. So I find that, as I think you once said, or someone said in a meeting, to not form the sentence. As you begin a sentence, that takes you into the future or the past in that way. I believe it was you who said this. Just don't go down that sentence. I've used that for years. That as you hear the first two words, you know where you're going, and you just actually, you don't complete the thought. That I have found a really important exercise.
I remember we used to say, when a false personality walks across the stage, you can hear it walking, and you know it's coming. Here's that personality again. Wow, that's Joe the miser or Sam the glutton or something. Get out of its way, shut it up, and get the hook out, and don't let it come out and take the microphone. Because once it does, it's there. Now who's going to take him away? Could it be that in our minds, the present is so blech that we gotta put the trimming on it like the future? This will be better. Because right now, the present, what's that? And yet all the work we read says, stop talking to yourself. Let's find out how much of our talk is future paced or past phased. How much is fantasy? If you're sitting, sensing your body, see, it's never going to get better than that. No matter what, it's going to be always that. Sensing yourself, watching yourself breathe. This is it. Is that enough for us? Do you think anything will happen in your life that's going to make it worthwhile?
Yes. I think the feeling Mark has now, he should feel that going forward, plus more. That'll make life worth living.
Is your life worth living now?
Absolutely. More so than Mark thinks at any other time.
Why is that?
What Mark gets tripped up on is that Mark thinks he's very mechanical growing up, reacting to things. I'm not sure if he was even thinking. And now Mark feels like he possibly thinks and has free will, and is able knows what the sensing exercise is, and is able to connect with people in ways he was never able to do before. I feel the energy was conjured up in those conversations, and this seems to be increasing as he does this more. So Mark is looking forward to the future because he thinks he'll be able to tap more into that and be able to get more responses like that and be able to elevate himself with his idea of feels of being more in connection with his essence and being on a higher plane, so to speak, because it's already happening compared to where Mark was a year ago. And so maybe Mark's living a fantasy, but he's not sure if that's what's going to be happening or not. But he has faith that will happen. He keeps working at it.
So this is good enough for you?
Right now?
Yeah.
Yes, Mark feels this
Good enough.
This is great right now. We've been doing this exercise on Tuesday, associates meeting, where we had a reading that said, think about your life. Say now, think about the last 2 hours. These last 2 hours, satisfactory enough that if you were to die, say in 5 minutes, the last 2 hours were good enough, and you thought that, okay, this is it. And then go through the day, and then think about that. Say an hour from now, and then look back at every 2 hours. And so the idea is, are you carrying yourself? And it's an amazing exercise to think about that. It's like, so I look at Mark now, looks at his last 2 hours, and thinks maybe 1 out of the 2 hours is pretty good. But it's getting to be more and more that he's satisfied with that is. So if he knew that the Grim Reaper's coming, and his time's going to be cut off at a certain moment, he feels, he's not quite sure where he would feel if he actually knew the button was coming and shut things down. But he feels good now.
Does the hour before you got here, was that as good as the hour that you're here?
No, it's not. It was,
I don't want you to hurt my feelings.
It was about 500%, 2. It's things are rising now, so maybe be better every hour now. So that's what Mark's confused about thinking into the future, because Mark's working so hard now as an investment into the future of himself, where he feels if he loses everything, it doesn't matter, because Mark will still be who he is, and he still has the capacity to better himself by being able to sense more often, be able to eliminate the fantasy in his head more often, and stop the chatter more persistently. And so that can happen. Mark thinks he's going towards some place he'd be like to identify with more.
How do you think one could ever tell people, you got there already? This is it. You got there. You're eating, you're breathing, you're moving, you're there, you're present. This is it. It's not going to get better. This is it.
Well, but just doing it. This is it. And that's how it's done. So this is it for right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's all fantasy aside. This is the best Mark can be. This is the best that all of us can be right now.
Somebody was talking about the respect of others. What happens when you lose your job? The other people still respect you. Oh, he's a wonderful man. He lost his job and his wife left him and his kids are in jail, but he's a wonderful man. My hat's off to him. I respect him. Because that puts them in the position of saying, if you don't, we won't respect you anymore. There you go. I think fondly of this man who's walking out of a cave or something down the road, looking to see what he's going to eat, and not thinking about anything. How does this seem to apply with what we read from Holder about, the Zen of the swordsman?
That wasn't what I was thinking about relating it to.
Mm-hmm.
I might be able to think of how to relate it to that. But maybe first I could say what I was thinking of. When the chair used the word gratitude next to the word happiness, it seems to me that that's what actual happiness is a feeling of gratitude. I know when I'm happy, when I feel happy, it's definitely the what's the nature of that happiness? It's a feeling of thanks for the good feeling. And I think the mistake with happiness is that, or the mistake with the idea of happiness is that it's presented as a blanket condition that's measured in these large units. I don't think you can even say so-and-so is a happy person or so-and-so is an unhappy person. I don't think happiness is measured like that. I think it's measured in moments. I think as each moment goes by, it's a happy moment or a not happy moment. And this is why in general things can be going along very nicely, and yet you can have unhappy moments in there where things aren't going nicely and you feel unhappy, or vice versa. You can be not having good days, but there can still be moments of happiness within those days. So to say happiness is a condition that is a lasting condition, I think is a mistake. It's like measuring with a yardstick instead of with an electron microscope, which I think happiness is more about that. And as such, it has to do totally with being in the moment. And this morning, well, we were reading this Zen and the Art of Archery excerpt, but I was also reading a little excerpt from The Dancing Wu Li Masters by Gary Zukov, and it's a book about physics and relating physics to daily life. And he was talking about the mathematical theorems involved in the space-time continuum, and he was saying that mathematically, when you figure out the equation for the future and the equation for the past, they intersect at a point. And the point that they intersect at is we refer to as now. So now is the intersection of the past and the future. And I think that that's why happiness has to be measured in moments, because it's not a product of time. It's not a product of the past or the future. It's a product of now.
An awful lot of talk about happiness. Are we destined to be emotional-centered creatures? Is there any way to become a non-emotional centered creature? Suppose we were like an eating centered creature. Well, when you ate, everything's fine. That's it. That all we've been talking about, the whole future, the dreams, the hopes, the plans, they're all geared towards the emotional center. Suppose the emotional center, imagining it doesn't exist. It's out, it's dormant, it's It's been KO'd somewhere. No emotional center. Now, what's going to make life worthwhile? Or will we even think of life being worthwhile? Or will we even be thinking? Maybe an ant goes from one snack to another. When you're not hungry, you sit down. Nothing to do. What do you think of being snack-centered?
And maybe ask the question, what about enjoying the snack? Is that emotional?
You tell me.
I don't know.
Have you ever enjoyed a snack?
Yeah, enjoy food.
Yeah.
And
Why do you enjoy food?
it tastes good.
It tastes good. I don't think that's the emotional center.
It tastes good, though. I guess it's a sensation. Sometimes I enjoy it because I know it's nourishing for me. And there's joy in that knowledge. And I enjoy consuming that knowing it's good for me, which is different. It can be bitter or sour. But the knowledge makes me enjoy that. It's completely different kind of enjoyment. It's not a taste sensation, it's a knowing sensation. I thought of reading a book, and that is connected to the emotional center because what I experience when I read certain phrases is an emotional thing. When the words are describing something that the words are words. It's a form for something that I recognize in those words, something that I don't know what it is that I know inside or I sense inside. It's like something that's inside me, and when I read it in a word, or in a sentence, a phrase, there's something very powerful in that moment. And my experience of that encounter is an emotional experience because usually it'll either make me laugh, excitement, or sometimes it'll make me cry. It'll give me goosebumps, and I wouldn't want to pass that.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of them are I'm happy to let go of.
Like which?
Sad.
So you want only the good stuff?
I want to enjoy reading. I want to enjoy listening to music.
Do you think you can have an emotional center that only
No.
gets good stuff?
No.
You gotta take the bad with the good?
Yeah.
Suppose all you wanted to do was have a snack.
That's
Hmm?
good. That's good.
What would you do between snacks?
Wait for the next one.
That's sensible. That's sensible.
Patient. Look around. Look around.
The next snack.
What's next? I can prepare the next snack if I'm the one who's making the snacks. I'm busy making it.
That's enough to keep.
It's a lifetime.
smelling out snacks, following out snacks, preparing them, eating them, sleeping after you eat them. It's an enviable life. Nothing goes too wrong with that.
I just thought of the answer to that question. At some point we were thinking, like, what is it that you do? I snack. That's what I do. I snack. That's a good answer. I prepare snacks that I eat.
We have just given this man a new life, a new lease on life, figured out all your problems. You graduated this evening. Go home and snack. I think that all the plans of men are individual schemes for getting to a point where they feel satisfied and contented. All of it, careers, studies, plans, buying, everything is to feel contented. Because if you look around your house and you're not contented, then you have to make a plan to get a different house, one that you'll feel contented in. Probably bigger, more expensive. Is there something you could tell yourself? I am contented with this house. That's my decision. No need to think about it again. I am contented. Good enough for me. Can our mind ever overpower these needs to feel better emotionally? To be happier? What do you think, James?
I think this is the very essence of the work, is working with that process that's going on, I think, in almost all of us, of having of wanting this sense of contentment, and then at first, at the beginning of the work, or even before you're in the work, you're looking at all these outside things that are going to bring that. And in some way, it's a process where the more you kind of go down that road, if you have the perspective of the work, the more you can see that looking for it that way, you're not going to get it. But there is this desire in some way for contentment, I believe, in some way does help you move along the track towards a more enlightened state in the work, because you do eventually see that it's only by removing desires and only by removing the wanting of the future or the memory of the past or whatever, that you do attain contentment, real contentment. and that you can see this change where we're just sitting in a chair and being. Has a nice feeling to it. Has a good kind of feeling. And you sort of feel, gee, this is okay. I could be here for a while. And so I know for this person, the whole gamut is there. There's the guy who wants, to finish this project, and he wants to get this computer thing together so it's nicely working smoothly, and he wants to get his place cleaned up, and then he wants to get out of the place and get in another place. So there's all that going on. But there's also the guy that's knowing that none of that's going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
That it's all about being in the moment and being with himself in the moment and aware, and that's is bringing him contentment whenever he can go there and be there. And it's just a process of the two of these or more of them kind of living it out, and hopefully, I mean, he does see that the one who knows this is all this idea of changing this and doing that and so on is a sham, that it's not going to get him anywhere.
Can that part be quieted or sent to Florida or something?
It's gradually being diminished, whittled away. Yeah, it's more and more.
Are you whittling it?
Yeah, I'm whittling.
How are you whittling it?
By living more of those moments in the present and being in a state of contentment, of, in a sense, talking to the other parts, telling myself what I know, that this is not, that moving this from here to here is not going to change anything.
That reminds me of what Don Juan had said. You move all the pieces all over the top of the table, and after you're through moving them all, you got the same pieces on top of the same table in a different spot.
Right. And I would make some comment that this person does sense he pretty much knows, I would say, that he could be a person with less ego, and that is a more desirable state. But at the same time, that needs to be balanced with not, like, it's sort of there, like he knows it, but it's not like he's like trying to get it so much. It's like, it's just knowing that if he keeps working this way, it's happening, it's coming, but it's not, if he should die tomorrow, it's not like he feels, oh gee, he didn't attain whatever.
Does anyone ever say to themselves, where I am now is good enough for me?
I think I say that a lot.
Yeah. Okay. Does anybody else say that?
Yeah, I've said that many times. I'm very fortunate now, and very fortunate in the future.
Right. How much of our lives is spent wishing things were better and trying to make things better? A better everything. Everything should be better. Better car, better house, better everything. To live better.
Seems like the only way to make something better is to do it with love, to do it with intent, to try and fill it with beauty. Or to recognize the beauty that it has.
As we proceed along the road to betterness, better everything, I look back when things were nowhere as better as they are later on down the road, and the part back there that wasn't that better, it felt very good. Why put in all the moving and shaking and efforts and all the struggle to have better when the past was good enough?
I think with the idea of looking back in the past, it seems like the mind naturally divides things between that which is the essential component and that which is the overlay. And at the time, you know that you were experiencing it with the overlay, but that part, which is like the false personality, or perhaps, is not, it goes away. just being there, being present, remembering, sensing deeply that experience is occurring, wherever it is occurring, and that these overlays are different in every situation, but it's interesting, they go away. So one has the choice to just eliminate them now and moving forward. And it also seems that this life of being in the present only comes out of being in the present 1 second before. So that there are two paths, one of that all that essence is moving forward, doing, comes from itself. And that if you keep sensing that, it reveals a very different life. And depending on how deeply one is entrenched, that the overlay is sort of in the center where things are reversed, then I think a person's life takes a different turn. That the evolutionary path is another turn. And as you've always said, it's strengthening this essential part. And in some people, that part doesn't get to live. So that every moment that we're just sensing at work, we are strengthening that part of self.
Interesting that if someone gave me $1 million, I couldn't imagine what I would do with it. I already ate today. I already have a place to sleep. I look around. Is there a hole somewhere looking to be filled with something? You know, but there aren't any holes. There's nothing waiting to be filled. When I become a great martial artist, I'll never go to, I'm a great martial artist. It's like the joke of all time. I'll keep going to classes because I like it. What do you think, Johnny?
Is what creates problems. Because it's a product of personality. So it's kind of in our mind, and in this guy's mind, is the gold standard of what reality should be. And so when this person is not able to stay present, he is constantly comparing his reality to what his personality idea of reality should be. And so possible to actually enjoy doing things. So I think when we are present, we are experiencing everything as being fresh, as being new, as being unique. Full of life. Exceptional. And that is true happiness. And that state is appreciation for what we have. As you were just saying, as the children were saying, there is no hole that needs to be filled. There is no need to be taken care of. And I believe that happiness is actually being able to process or acquire the impressions, the reality around us, and taking that energy and lift our being, as opposed to let reality be dictated by what personality thinks it should be.
Understanding the meditation style in India. Slept good enough. The bell rang. Somebody put something on your plate. That's good enough. You were in silence. That's more than good enough. You don't have to say anything. Nobody has to say anything to you. Silence is terrific. And days pass, and weeks pass, months pass, and fine. You're not going to make your cell bigger. You're not going to make your food better and tastier. You're not going to do anything about anything except sit and watch the panorama that goes on in front of you. And the silence is beautiful because you can't say anything and nobody's going to say anything to you. Basically, you ate and you slept and you meditated, and that's good enough. What more do you want? You know, TV set, a radio, CDs, DVDs, MP3s. You know. You went 20,000 miles to get away from that stuff. What's for dinner tomorrow? 1, I don't know. 2, I couldn't possibly care. I'll put out my plate, plop, that's it, and I'll take it somewhere, eat it by myself in silence, but nobody has to talk to me. Beautiful. Sam, did you ever taste a life that was good enough?
Yeah,
Where were you?
I was in a park reading a book, and I saw some birds playing on branches, and I was content, happy. And I thought, why can't I have this more? I don't know an answer. It's kind of like when you're walking down the street and you see someone with a handicap, and for this person, my immediate thought is, thank God for my health, thank God, I can walk, see, hear. But that lasts only so long, and then you go back into, okay, what can I do to better this or better that, and blah, blah, blah. It's the same phenomenon of people driving down the highway, and you see an accident, they drive very carefully for about half a mile, and then poof, they, go back to the mechanical. So it's, for this person, it's seeing something that elicits a reaction of, thank God, wow, I'm so lucky, wow, this is great. But that, lasts for almost so long, and then the brainwashing that Derek was talking about of, I'm going to have a bigger car, a bigger house, and this and that all settles in. And that feeling of contentment is gone, disappears, until you have another moment when you're sitting in the subway and the parent is playing with the child laughs from the bottom of his heart, and you're like, wow, that's beautiful. It lasts like 3 seconds, and then the train comes and you get on it, and you're back into, So it's, this person's had very brief moments of contentment, but they last for just that, moments, and then it disappears.
The general picture of what you're describing is what Ouspensky speaks of when he says there's a moment of awakeness here and there. When that moment's over, it's back to sleep again, Suppose we will call all that situation that you have after the moment from the park wears off. Could we call that sleep?
Sure.
Then you spend 999 1,000ths of your life sleeping. Does it make sense to say that getting off that dime may be the most important thing to do in the world? Maybe we can say that now, but tomorrow it isn't. The breeze is coming in. All is well with me. If I keeled out of this chair and died right now, that would be good enough. Very, very good. Yeah. Good enough. That was a good note to go out on. Want? Oh, by now this unit knows that wanting equates unhappiness. That's bad, 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 bad. I mean, I've got to get a newer car. Oh, that looks like an endless road. I'll have to do this and do that. Oh, no. Reaching a point where I don't have anything. All the things that I own have me. They're all clamoring, hey, fix me, take care of me, paint me, oil me, squeak me. I need. Get up. Stop watching that tree. Come over here and paint me, shave me, scrape me, sand me. I was talking to somebody lately about food. I'm saying my ambition, if I'm going to get that lively, which I'm not, is to simply go out on the lawn and eat grass. All those deer come by, clumpity, clumpity, clump, clump, clump. They hear me? Hi, Gil. How are you? I'm fine. Good. I'm going over to such and such's house. They got a nice lawn. I'll see you tomorrow. Gone. Why can't I eat like that? Gotta go shopping, gotta go buying, gotta drive. Gotta hand them your ticket for sale price. And then you gotta come home and cook it. Pardon me. Somebody has to cook it.
Right. What you mean we, white men.
Because that hot I'm not going to get. I'm willing to starve, but I'm not going to cook for any reason. That's it. No. And that grass and that deer look so good. Man, that deer has it together. It's much more together than I am. That's enough. It's not ice cream, which I can't have anymore. It's not coffee. It's good enough. I'll get to like it. I've even tried sleeping on the floor, the bare floor. It's a little rough, and I didn't fall asleep. I had to get up. But wouldn't that be a pleasure to get that together? Just, well, I'm going to bed, just lay on the floor. Don't need beds, don't need furniture. God Almighty. rid of cooking, get rid of furniture, car. Oh my God! And I spent a very, very contented year of my life in a town called Grahamsville, New York. Unless you're in it, you can't find it. And I had what had been a chicken coop, which is basically 3/4 of this room. And the guy who owned the property fixed it and put a wall up and he put a bed in there, put a stove and a refrigerator, a heating thing. The water came from his house quite a ways, like from across the street, in a pipe right on top of the ground, not a pipe, a rubber tube right on the ground, rubber hose. That was my water. Out the back door there was a nice big hill I used to climb up there and look at the sunsets. I was not unhappier there than I am anyplace else. I was happy enough. As happy as I can be, I was there. I had a 90cc Honda. I went out and I would ride, and they were the power kids because this was 1972. Hey, more power to the people on the way to Yasgur Farms, yay! You know, yippee, cars full of people, California roaming around. I'd be on my 90cc, pump, stop. It would run about 1 out of every 4 days. It would require 3 days playing what they did. But it ran. I had a motorcycle. But hey, man, wow, power. No job, unemployment checks, laying on the ground. Eat whatever slop I could bring back to the place I lived. Usually like milk and cornflakes. That was enough. Never known for being too culinary. And from there, I didn't know then that after that, my next pad was going to be India in the south. And I liked India and that cell so much that I made no plan. It was not in my mind to ever think of the United States again or any civilized country. I was going to stay there. Then I got sick and went to hospital, landed back in New York. But wow, that was good enough for me. Do people here have things that own them? Do you have things that own you? No.
Yeah.
Oh, you do. It's awful, isn't it? These darn things are forever clamoring. Even the piano clamors. I own a tune. Pay $75 to tune me up. Oh, come on, man. What do you think is a good technique for getting rid of desire and all these nuisances that clamor up our lives with doing and all that jazz? And I know I'm speaking to a hard-working man who's doing. What do you think of all this? Drop out.
I think that reaching a level of understanding that being happy was a stupid idea. Or someone taught you who had no clue what's going on, and it was taught for generations. So let's say you reach this point. He says, oh, okay, great. Here I am, happiness, no happiness, who cares? You wake up a little bit. So you have a second and a half underneath the tree. It's nice. It's beautiful. I think it's more important for a person who was lucky enough to come across this work. And destiny brought him here. He was created by God. He did not think of God and created his own God. This is what most of us think all day. When you start to understand this relationship and change your relationship with God or the creation, you understand that you came here for a different reason. I can assure you, and I signed a contract, that it's not to be happy. It's the least important thing. You want to be a master of yourself, be as free as possible. I think it's beautiful to have a house in the Hamptons, if you can. If you don't have to kill yourself for it, and if you go there or you don't go there, you don't care. And if you have a nice car, you service it, no big deal. They bring it out, they bring it back. It's nice to make money. You don't have to be a slave for it. Everything is nice. When you have a bigger project than yourself, so you work for yourself, you get your understanding, you get ideas, you have a schedule. You have a Monday meetings with this one, you have a Tuesday meeting with this, you have a Thursday, you have Tai Chi, you have sports, you take care of yourself. You're in a constant war with yourself about what you eat, what you drink, how you go, how you handle yourself. When you're negative, you hold yourself, you suffer consciously as much as you can, until one day your personality says, okay, and then you can make a plan of what you can do in your life that is bigger than you. Look, there is people who can change a family and friends. There is people who can change a big group of people. There is some people who changes a city and a state, and some people change the world. And Gurdjieff and some other people change eternity for eternity. They did something forever. They exist forever. In our destiny, there is one of these levels. We can change our friends, we can change our whole city, maybe a whole state, maybe a country, and maybe we can also join Gurdjieff. For me to think of I'm happy, I'm not happy, I'm happy now? Yes. Sure I'm happy. I'm very lucky. I'm considered to be top 1% of the world. Of what I make, I choose what I eat well. I don't eat junk, I eat very particular. I like when I eat, I enjoy it, I swallow it, I love it. It's nice. It tastes good, there's good coffee, bad coffee. I like the good life, but I enjoy it. I try to enjoy it. I try to remember to enjoy it. Life is not easy. And then we die. So we can say life is not easy, but if I remember myself, anything can be joyful. I look at my past. For me, I used to say my past is dead, but my past is pretty cool. Is now when I'm not identified with my parents. You ask if something owned me. This, I'm part owner. This part owner. I'm owned by my family, by my children. My children own me 100%. I'm responsible for them. My parents, they used to own me 100%. Now they have 20%. My father is down to 5%. My brothers, I'm working on it. I care for them, I love them, but they don't own me anymore. So I feel more freedom. I think when we are free, we start to think of bigger ideas. What is my gift? What is it I can pass to other people? So if you're a good speaker, pay attention, learn how to be a great speaker and pass what you get to other people. And then maybe you reach a level of working for the work. which I think is the highest goal in the master game. And we are playing the master game. Maurice Nicole, I think, puts it best when he says we have to change the mind, you know, and it's not easy, you know. I'm looking at my life. When I was in one school, I said, oh, when I get to the other school, the girls will be, I'll be happier. And then when I go to the army, I'll be happier. And then when I finish the army, I'll be much happier. And then it goes and goes and goes. And I remember this one particular night on 16th and 5th Avenue. I came back from work, and I pretty much had it nice. You know, I had a house in the Hampton, a rental, I had my own apartment, a suit and tie, I had a company, I did well, I had a car, a parking garage. And you know, this is pretty much, I thought this is what I wanted in the last few years. I worked very hard for it. But it didn't make me happy. I said like this, and I remember accomplishing this dream. It was a stupid dream, but I accomplished it. It didn't do me any good. I didn't feel any pride. You know, I feel happy when I behave like a human being. When I remember myself in a business meeting and I say something that changed the room, and these people can take home a sentence or a feeling or something, I feel better, I feel happier. It's not the same happiness of having a good week at work or making money. It's not. The emotional center, when you speak about the emotional center, my emotional center is different than 10 years ago. A commercial, I mean, I know it's a commercial, but still the music and the way they do it, there's something that comes up. This is ridiculous. You know, I was never like this. So my emotions are alive. You know, I was very good. I cry easily. When I see something pretty, the impression hits. The wall I built is always getting thinner, always getting shorter, always breaking. I don't know what's happening. I'm not sure. So whatever I do, I think I'm in the right direction. And
pleasure to hear you. I don't think you're 1 out of 1,000. I think you're 1 out of 1,000,000. What do you think, sir?
I think the notion of simplicity is something that I've always given me pleasure. And when I think for the future, I think that it'll become more complicated. I have some fear of it. And then when I think the very nature of the work is to make things simple. It doesn't matter what's happening around me. The notion of simplicity is inside me and how I react to things. And then I think about
the notion of what makes us happy, pleasures, primitive pleasures, things that were simple at a time when this was not around. We like to eat. We like sun on our face. We eat notion. Carnal lust. These are things that are very basic. So our interaction with other people around us, where it gets complicated. These things that I just said are very basic pleasures. It's the emotional notion of our interaction with other people. My personality likes this personality, that makes me happy. My personality does not like this personality, that makes me agitated. It's the noise and our interaction with people that seems to take us out of this basic element, the simplicity. It's almost like we're trying to get back to a more primitive state, something that's truly basic, truly simple. In this room, it's the vibration that we all feel, communal. Love is a very primitive, very basic thing that we try and take with us into this city, this world that is not primitive. It's trying to remember that in every moment. If we were out trying to get food, we put in sports to do that, to get that feeling, repetitive desire. It's keep on trying to replace this very notions of simplicity. But at the very end of it is the notion of what makes us humans. It's the simple desires. And from that, we're really tapping into the essence of those simple desires.
I draw a lot of comfort and satisfaction from the invisible world that I believe is around me. I feel protected. Feel taken care of, nurtured emotionally. Part of the invisible is taking care of me. It's very sad that such a small percentage of humanity has a sense of satisfaction and quiet and achievement. I think at some point an individual can't wait any longer for then, and when that happens, then my boat will come in, then I'll feel good, then I'll be happy, then. I think at some point say, hey, my then is now. There's no more patience to sit around and wait till the house gets paid off or this or that or whatever freedom fantasy there is. I want my freedom today. And they came to that conclusion a few years ago. I want my freedom. I want it now. It's like, yeah. No more time to build plans and parlay this onto another thing now. And what I have is what I have now, and that's fine with me. Guess the world's all screwed up, but it's okay with me. As an aside, yeah, the VCRs from the groups we had meeting 25 years ago, 1984, I have about 18 of those VCRs, and I successfully transcribed them onto a DVD. So I have about 11 DVDs that came out very, very good. Within the next month, I'll do the others. And James, you were some guy on these these tapes. You said some beautiful things. It was beautiful. And I looked up and found Bernardo. He's in the Bronx, and I have his phone number. And Pamela had some great moments on those tapes. Great moments. And it was very, very beautiful. It was a great pleasure seeing it again, seeing people again. I guess there's more ideas with these CDs or DVDs and where they'll go, but it's all in good shape. It's going well, and it was a pleasure seeing people that I haven't heard speak in, it's 25 years, 1984 to now. Everybody on those tapes did well. Their lives came out pretty darn nice. Be a great thing. That'll be the next project. We'll get these meetings taped too. That's for sure. And videoed, and we have the A&R person here who's going to be in charge of electronics and machines and things like that. So, anybody else wish to add anything?
I just wanted to say that I do experience, and what you were just saying about, having gone through a life where you're waiting till then and then and then and then. Sometimes I wonder to what extent is it my efforts at work, and to what extent is it just living longer and having more experience of thinking it's going to be this, and then when this is there, that's not it. And just to sort of say to younger people, you don't have to wait until you're 60 or 70. That And it's so beautiful to have the opportunity to grab onto that truth now. That's all.
Pleasure to be here. Is the catering staff?
Snacks.
What?
Snacks.
Snacks, yes. Mr. Snacks.